How's it going, everybody? Jacob Rothenberg here, and this week on the channel, I have Sarah Sampino with Audiobooks Unleashed. How are you, Sarah?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, so I'm actually really excited for this episode because I think this is going to be breaking news for everyone in the publishing industry, along with options available for those that are doing audiobooks. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about Audiobooks Unleashed and how you got started?
Yeah, sure. I am a narrator. That's how everything got started. And we actually started first as a company for promo codes for ACX and helping to teach people that at this time you were paid for codes. It was about, learning how to use these codes to actually market your audiobooks and ways to reach out to listeners. And so that's what we did because I felt like that was something that was missing in the market. And that was fantastic. And then I just, was getting a lot of feedback just from friends and in general that there were some things that were really lacking as a distribution option. And I'm very, business savvy. And so I was like, you know what, let me look into this. And it wasn't exactly a quick thing. I wasn't like, I'm just going to do it. But, we've been planning this for months and, we decided, okay, what's lacking in the distribution world? Well, flexibility for authors and narrators to work the way they want to, different royalty options, or things where you're not beholden to the systems that different platforms have. They can be strict sometimes and they don't really work for everybody. Some places you can't work with certain distributors if you're outside of certain countries. Australia especially is a big one, and I have a lot of personal colleagues and friends who are Australian, and they really were lacking a way to promote their work in a way that they deserve. And I just think that especially for smaller publishers, even larger ones, and the smaller indie author market, it's you know we don't want to miss out on such niche content, and we don't want it to get super saturated with everything that's out there. And I just thought that that was something that, was being lost with, how quickly audiobooks are rising. And I just wanted to make sure that, we can cater to that, and we can cater to the more personal and boutique needs that people need sometimes in that respect. So yeah, that's how we started.
Yeah, my background personally is having been ACX exclusive for over 3.5 years
Mm,
at this point, and there, as you have said, numerous limitations that really restrict or even entirely prevent publishers from having their work recorded and published and distributed. So I'm going to go on a quick fire with one of my questions that I had prepared in advance.
yeah,
Are
sure.
you
And can I
still?
actually just say something? And maybe if we could just put it back. I just want to clarify. Um, I am not in any way knocking ACX. I think that, it's where everybody got their start. It's where so many people are still going. And I think there's tons of reasons to still use ACX, even over us. There are situations. So I'm definitely not trying to, and just throughout this entire thing, I'm not trying to make the point that ACX sucks, because it's not true. But there are limitations, and there are, reasons to go to different distributors. And so that's something that I talk about a lot with people. So I just also want to make the clarification that I'm not trying to knock any specific other distributor or aggregator or production company or anything like that.
I think it's fair to say that both between ourselves and maybe a lot of listeners out there have made thousands of dollars ACX over the years. So I don't think we're going to say it sucks. It's an awesome platform.
Yeah, yeah,
At the same time, I think we're looking for opportunities to expand our horizons beyond just one platform and see how to
exactly.
have more of our work more exposed and ultimately make more money online. So I think the question is, should I stay ACX exclusive versus looking at other platforms for distribution?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, and there definitely are reasons to stay ACX exclusive. That being, if you aren't interested in wide distribution. So if you're not interested in distributing past Audible, Audible, Amazon, Apple, and iTunes. They all kind of go the same. I like to just say, Apple, Audible, and Amazon.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm not leaving any out. But if you're fine and that's where you want to distribute, then you absolutely should. And you should go for it, and you get a higher royalty percentage through Audible. So you get 40% of royalties received under exclusive, and you only get 25% non-exclusive. Now, that being said, you are locked into a 7-year agreement if you do a royalty share contract. So if you're doing any sort of royalty contract, you are locked into that, and you can't change your mind. And 7 years into the future is a long time, especially in the digital world where everything changes so fast. So if you're not comfortable with that, that would be a reason to look somewhere else. Another reason to look somewhere else would be for different royalty options, for more options than just what they offer. And they offer great programs. So they offer a royalty hybrid, and they offer a flat royalty share. Whereas, we, for example, Audiobooks Unleashed, we offer some more options. We offer royalty deferred, custom agreements, working with different narrators, different authors, splitting things in any percentage that you want to. So if you're looking for something more specific, that's another reason to go to. But I would say if you're comfortable with just being exclusive to those 3 platforms, you're doing a PFH agreement, and you are okay with making that contractual commitment, absolutely go for it. I would totally go for
So
it.
to follow up on what you've just said, I'll ask you 2 questions. One I already know the answer to, but I have to ask it anyway. But the
Okay.
first one being, this one I don't know the answer to. So a lot of people have asked me this to ask you.
Okay.
As someone based in Europe, based in Asia, outside of the 4 countries, 4 territories that ACX allows to publish for, which is the US, UK, Canada, and Ireland. Outside of those 4 countries, can someone publish a book through Audiobooks Unleashed, and you'll be able to, as a distribution platform, publish on ACX for that publisher?
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Anybody. Mhm.
Well, there you go. I think we just got you 50 leads with that yes of a question. So that's awesome. But to counter what I've just said, and this is question number 2,
Mhm.
if let's say we have publishers that are ACX exclusive for whatever reason,
Mhm.
yes, there is a 7-year contract, but is there any way to break contract or at least become non-exclusive after a period of time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, on the front page of our website, we have a quiz
Yeah,
that
I
we
could.
made. Yeah, I just feel like it was just a much easier way because there are so many different situations. Um, if you're listening and you want to try out the quiz, go ahead. But the gist of it being, if you're doing any sort of royalty agreement with ACX, so whether it's a royalty RS Plus, I think I said royalty hybrid before by accident, but it's called RS Plus by now.
Okay.
Now, so RS Plus or just regular RS royalty share, you cannot become non-exclusive. You can't do anything for 7 years. You are locked in. If you're doing a PFH agreement and you're exclusive after 1 year of being live on Audible, you can become non-exclusive. So you can go wide.
Okay, so to reiterate for what you just said, if anyone has done a royalty share with the narrator, and as a publisher, it's usually a horrible idea. Long term, you're stuck in the contract. But if you have done a PFH agreement, after 1 year, you can email, contact ACX, Audible, and they'll remove you from being exclusive, correct?
Yes, sorry you broke up there for a second, but yes, that's correct.
Cool. So that's something to be excited about. I'm going to have to put you on the spot here with a question that would come up, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you get this all the time. Why should a publisher choose Audiobooks Unleashed versus possible other options like Findaway Voices, Authors Republic, etc.?
Yeah, sure. So there are absolutely reasons to go with the different platforms. So there are absolutely reasons to go with other platforms. Everybody has their pros and their cons. I actually, on our website, made a little chart that kind of highlights all of those things. Of course, we hope you go with us, so we have ours in blue and all nice. But it does really show you what your different options are, because we want you to go with what's best for you. So I would say for us, our big thing would be our royalty options, which are really helpful to narrators and authors working together. Because with our royalty deferred option, you actually, rather than you just splitting it 50-50 and the narrator not receiving anything at all up front, the narrator still doesn't receive anything up front, but say that their per finished hour rate is $250 per finished hour. Then with royalties deferred, the narrator makes 100% of the royalties until that PFH is met. And after that, it goes all to the rights holder. Or they can split it 50-50, or they can get a little bit of money up front and then split it however they want. So that's another point, is that we are completely flexible. Whatever you want to do, you get to do. I don't really know why it's not that way in the first place.
So I have a quick question about that, because I did read that on your site. So with the royalties deferred setup, who has the final say, the final decision on how royalties are handled after the threshold is made? The publisher or the rights holder or the narrator?
Who has the final decision as to what happens after that threshold is made?
Yes.
So that is a negotiation between the two parties, or however many parties there are. So we don't actually facilitate the agreements, in that we are not the ones creating a binding agreement with you. We're really about having independence and not being beholden to any platform. So it is up to the two parties, or however many parties there are, to negotiate their own terms. We give you all the options. We give you an agreement form if you'd like that, so that you don't have to create your own. But it's up to your negotiations and how you decide to do things, and then you just let us know.
Okay, because I'm already thinking 5 moves ahead. We have a lot of foreign publishers that are most likely going to join this platform. And I'm thinking, in the interest of the narrator, like, what legal arbitration or recourse is there for a narrator to collect payment after that threshold is made and still honor any agreement that's made thereafter on a royalty share?
Oh, absolutely. So we handle all of the royalty shares, all of the actual accumulations of royalties and the distribution of them to everybody who recorded and worked on the audiobook. So apologies if that wasn't clear. We are handling the actual distribution of royalties. We do it through PayPal. We're open to ACH if anybody has an issue through PayPal. Just through our beta testing, it seemed to be what people preferred. Rather than having to enter all their bank details, they can just give us an email. But yeah, so there is no way for that to get confused, or for someone's royalties to be held back, because we're taking care of all of that.
Cool. I mean, you've obviously done your research and you're very business savvy, I can already tell. So that's awesome thus far. I'd have to ask then, do you have a staff, or are you working alone? I think a lot of people are very concerned with customer service and responsiveness from whichever distribution platform they choose to work with.
Yeah.
So what can someone expect working with Audiobooks Unleashed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we really pride ourselves on customer service. I know personally that's an experience that is never fun, especially if you have something urgent. It is not just me. I do run the company, but we have a bunch of people on the team. We are small, but I tell people 2 to 3 business days for a response, knowing that you may very well get a response in a half hour. But just to, stop the people from being like, where are you? Be like, no, it's okay, we're coming. But yeah, I always am responding to people as soon as I possibly can. With now the promo code side and the distribution side, we have both. We are getting upwards of 250 emails a day.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a lot, but that's okay, because it's great. And we always want to communicate openly with people. That's why I opened up the consultations for another week, which have been great, because they're big time savers for emails and everybody's getting their answers quickly. So I think that was actually a great decision that I think has saved everybody a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, as you scale up, inevitably you're going to hire more staff anyways, and it is better to overpromise. I mean, deliver, especially with lead times on responses. So with that all said, I'd like to hit on a couple of pain points that publishers are having. This is not openly mentioned. It's never really brought out to the public because it's a little bit taboo or whatsoever. But I'll just put it out there because this is where I keep things real, and I just want to be transparent with publishers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in all honesty, a lot of publishers are just not making as much money as before with promo codes no longer granting royalty sales.
Yeah.
That's a little bit illicit, but that being said, what are the best opportunities right now to monetize audiobooks now that promo codes don't make people money automatically?
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, it was a great thing. It was fantastic, but it was never going to last,
Of course.
unfortunately. But I wish it had lasted a bit longer. That was one of the really big points of our promo code division, which is still running and running well, even though people aren't getting paid for these codes, because it is about maximizing that as much as you can. So if you're with us and you want to be Audible exclusive, and we can put that in for you, and we can do that if it's a royalty share agreement because it's going through us. So if you want to be Audible exclusive, or what we can also do is you can be Audible exclusive for 1 year and then you can go wide. So we're sort of, doing everything. Anyways, point being, we can get you codes for Audible. If you go wide distribution with us, you have promo codes for Kobo. If anyone doesn't know what Kobo is, it's one of the biggest competitors after the big three and Google, I would say as well. Kobo is also connected to Walmart, and they're fantastic. We have a great personal relationship with them. So we run promos with them. We run, campaigns, and it's really, really great. Besides that, we have partners that we work with who are actual marketers for audiobooks. You can hire them if you'd like to. But at the same time, we completely understand that people might not have the funds to do that. That's a great reason why a royalty option is a good idea, especially for self-published people. If you're doing something like royalties deferred, then you can use the budget that you have and you can invest that into marketing. But even without spending a lot of money, there are so many things you can do. Social media does wonders. And I think what I'm going to do is maybe do a couple seminars for people and just, how you can get that started without a ton of money. And even just using a little bit, doing Facebook ads and putting in $20 a week, it can make all the difference. But the biggest advice I could give is you need to be personable with your listeners and with your fan base, and, trying to be a bit more than just the face of a company or the face of a book. They want to get to know the person behind the pages, the person behind the microphone, the person behind the publishing company. So it's really about making those connections, because listeners especially love feeling like they've found something. When you find your favorite actor and you notice somebody in a smaller part and you're like, that guy's great. And you start telling somebody. That might just be me because I'm a movie buff, but I mean, and I love that. That's why I'm working with people who aren't necessarily publishing, thousands of books and making millions, because I'm not really so interested in being up there. I'm more interested in working from the bottom and hopefully showing people as well what your marketing options are without, blowing the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell publishers this all the time. It's not just about, even in the old days, you could just publish it, set it, and forget it. But nowadays, you have to depend on, even beyond off-platform marketing, is establishing off-platform relationships. So as you've just mentioned, whether it's an email list or even a Facebook group where your pen name or your personal brand can interact with readers, with fans, and fans will get to know you, get to trust you, get to like you, and inevitably get to buy from you when you have something to promote or sell. So it's all that much more important, guys, to build up an email list, keep developing a Facebook community, a Facebook group, or other forms of social media where you can really form relationships with readers and with fans, and they appreciate it. I mean, how cool would it be to be able to like Twitter one-on-one Brad Pitt or Mike Tyson or someone crazy, right? I mean, that would just build up a fan base so much more. I mean, even on a small scale. So anything people can do to cultivate a relationship off platform, even just from review optimization, keyword stuffing optimization, whatever.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
is what sells books. So you mentioned something really interesting to me because I could never get this to work. Have you had a case study or instance where you were able to profitably make money using Facebook ads for audiobooks?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've also had the experience just on the narrator side with my authors doing the same. Yeah, it's a great resource. You just have to know how to do it, how to use keywords, and also pick your demographic. Don't pick 18 to 49. Pick smaller niche markets and test it. Don't try making your market 18 to 25 if you're doing a new adult book. But then maybe the readers actually are younger, and see what your feedback is. Know if you're doing a self-help cooking book, that's probably going to skew a bit more female and a bit more on the older side. Not necessarily. There's going to be tons of men who are interested in cooking, and it depends how your book is and your audiobook is done, of course. But you have to look at the trends in the industry, and there are so many fascinating case studies on that. And you don't have to necessarily look for audiobook listens if that information isn't out there. Just look at books and look at novels, and there is a plethora of information about that. So it's about being smart in that sense. And if that is something that you're like, that makes no sense to me and that's not what I want to focus on, I want to focus on the other parts of my job, then that's something that you can hire somebody for, or take a class on it. So it's just, yeah, that would be my advice about that.
Wow. I'm just thinking to myself quietly, I've spent over $250,000 on Facebook ads on the last year and a half for a book for romance fiction books, but I never could get audiobook ads to work. So I guess I gotta redo my targeting and not just go from 18 to 55 plus female. There's probably some finesse that comes with setting it up for audiobooks. So I'll take a better look at that. Are you offering webinars at this point, even this month or next month, for people wanting to educate themselves with audiobooks?
Yeah, sure. So what we're going to do, and I'm not sure what the exact topic is yet, but we're definitely going to have at least maybe once a month a different sort of get together and hot topic on our Facebook group. So our Facebook group's just Audiobooks Unleashed, and you just have to, I think, like press a check mark that says you've read the rules and you're not a robot, to get in. And yeah, so we're gonna sort of, I think, maybe take a poll on what people want to talk about the most and do that, and just kind of do a Facebook Live and go from there.
Yeah, and what I'll do in the description below of this video on YouTube, by the time people are watching, we'll have a link to audiobookunleashed.com so that people can, while they still can for the next week or so, schedule a 15-minute consultation with you directly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And set that
And
along with a link to the Facebook group.
yeah, and for the actual website, just so you know, and in general, everybody knows, if you go on audiobookunleashed.com, you will see our promo code portion of the website. Yeah, so to get to the distribution side, and there's like a giant pop-up link for it on the original part of the website. It's actually distribution.audiobookunleashed.com. Just so you don't get confused if you look at this and you're like, what is this? This isn't distribution. And eventually we have plans, but for each sort of division of Audiobooks Unleashed, we're just going to have a different sort of like sub header there, and we're going to go from there.
Yeah, I mean, you have the website up, it's fully working, looks good, and I know version 2 will be rolled out at some point next year. So yeah, it's good that you're up and running and that everything's at full speed. So at this point, I'm going to be a little bit selfish with the interview and ask things really for my own benefit. So with romance fiction, romance publishing,
Mhm.
what are the best opportunities that you're seeing in the world of romance fiction for audiobooks? Like what's
Yeah.
about to go?
So erotica does amazingly.
Oh, really?
Amazingly.
Oh, damn.
So if you do regular romance, don't get me wrong, will always sell well. But I feel like it's a bit taboo. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. Erotica sells worldwide. If you're like, is erotica going to sell? Yes, it is. Let's be real. A lot of people actually in their private time like to read that. So that's something that I think is really funny because it's a bit taboo for some people, and people will ask me if I accept erotica books, and as long as it's appropriate, that there isn't, we have a list, but as long as there's not like rape for gratification purposes or, really, really vulgar things like that, we're all good. So I'll say that on that side. I'd also say that doing short audiobooks is not a bad idea. A lot of people say if it's under 5 hours, don't bother with it. And I super disagree, especially for romance novellas. And the best thing to do with those is you release all of them pretty quickly. And those are pretty quick, to also churn out. So you release them and you can release them once a month if you want to. And you have all of these excuses to have a launch every month or every couple of months. You ride those royalties. And then once they slow down, put some, more effort into them, keep them alive for a bit, wait a second, and then release a box set. Release a box set knowing the sales for your individual novellas are going to pretty much plummet. So be sure you're ready because everyone's going to buy the box set. But that box set is going to be great for you. But you also want to capitalize on doing the smaller ones at first, because especially I'm always telling people you need to price competitively. Don't, sell something for, don't, jeopardize what you're worth, because your work is worth everything. But people aren't going to use, if it's Audible, for example, they're not going to use a credit on a book that's an hour or 30 minutes. What they will do is buy it a la carte, especially people who then get really into the series or the author. So I think that's a really good idea. Another thing that I would say is romance, and there's one other genre that I think I would, horror, I would say, are the two sections that have the most rabid fans.
Mm-hmm.
That, and of course lit RPG game lit, which is just off the wall. I've done some lit RPG audiobooks. They are so much fun, and then it's so fun to get everyone's feedback after. But that being said, romance, oh my goodness, there are so many fans. And if you are active on social media as a romance narrator, author, or publisher, people will find you. They will start promoting your work for you because they're so excited for you. And it's just a really, really great community. So if you are into romance and you're not pushing your work on social media, you are absolutely missing out. So that is what, oh no!
I need to be more proactive with promoting the audiobooks.
Yeah, do it.
I need to do that. Okay. Okay, that's awesome feedback. Thank you so much. And I'll just throw this as a random. What do you think of the Whispersync program with Amazon? Is that worthwhile with ACX? I mean, you're getting paid like tenths of a penny per listen or something. Is that worth it?
I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
My extent is always telling authors as a narrator that it's important for the narration and the manuscript to pretty much be word for word for them to actually get approved and to sync. But as far as the actual monetary value of doing that, since I'm not an author or publisher in the ebook form, I'm not actually sure how worth it is. I know that there's a lot of people who really appreciate it from a listener and a reader perspective. And I say, why not? Is there any sort of con off the bat to doing it?
Okay. I mean, yeah. I guess you could enroll in it and see what happens.
But is there any sort of con to doing it? I'm asking. I don't. How does that work?
To be honest, I'm not an expert with the program either, but I can enroll your books in it. I don't know if there's any implications or contractual agreements that are made once you're enrolled, but I've heard some feedback saying you have to try the program out. But otherwise, from what I can ascertain just reading the formula on how it's monetized, it doesn't seem great for those that aren't like J.K. Rowling and have a huge audience base.
Yeah, I can't attest to that. What I can say, and this is a question that I've been getting a lot, is if you are in KDP and you're picking, choosing to have your ebook exclusive or the option that gives you the higher royalty price, there are two tiers. Doesn't matter what you pick because the audiobook is separate. So people are asking me, can I do wide distribution? Can I do non-exclusive with my audiobook if my ebook is that exclusive type with Amazon. And yes, you can. That's not an issue.
Got it. Okay, so at this point, what other developments, what other opportunities are you seeing with Audiobooks Unleashed up ahead going into like 2021? Can you candidly share with us anything else that you're working on that's going to help move the game forward and raise the bar?
Yeah, sure. So what we've got going on right now that we're finishing up is physical distribution as well. So that means CDs, so CDs and also CDs that are MP3s. And so we aren't currently manufacturing them in-house, but we have partnered with manufacturers. And what we get to do, which I think is fantastic, is physical CDs will actually still be sold. And we are closing that up right now, actually. And that is so important because physical CDs, especially in libraries, are still so popular. Think about around the world, people who, can't afford to have all of these Audible subscriptions, or if you're in a place that doesn't have great Wi-Fi, or if you don't have a smartphone, or just because you like CDs still, there are just so many reasons and so many options that open up and physical stores that you can actually sell in. So I think that is a huge development and a really great reason to invest in physical distribution. So we've been working on that. We also are opening a little matchmaking service because we don't provide casting for audiobooks at this time. So we don't have those facilities. We want people to come to us with a project ready to go. It can be finished or it can be at the beginning stages. We have a whole portal and we have like a whole setup for our clients to help people connect and to help publishers and authors connect with narrators who are looking to have work that are outside of these other distributors. So that's coming up soon. We just want to make sure that we have all of the kinks worked out because we know that that's going to raise a lot of questions. So we want to get it as, quick and up to speed as we can.
Wow, that's going to be huge. I mean, yeah, there's just so much potential. We just got to make sure things don't crash and burn.
Exactly, right? But yeah, I mean, we have a lot of plans. I can't go into so much detail right now, but we are even developing our own promo code system to help people have more ways of marketing their work and sort of a bit of a retail store of sorts where our clients can actually sell direct from their own marketplaces. That is further ahead, but that's what's upcoming.
You're going to be dangerous, Sarah. I can already tell.
I'm gonna be exhausted is what I'm gonna
be. That too. But yeah, you're gonna be up there, I'm sure, in a year. So oh man, this is exciting. So we gotta sign on with you early while we still have direct access to you, for sure.
Absolutely. That's
all right, well, that all fair said. So for any of you listening, again, we have, I think, about one more week just because you're already so swamped with calls, one more week to book a 15-minute consultation directly with Sarah and see if going over to Audiobooks Unleashed is worthwhile for you and see what route is best to go. Otherwise, I will leave a link below again in the description of this video to the site along with the Facebook group. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, is it okay to ask a question in the Facebook group, I assume?
Yeah, absolutely. The best way probably to reach out to me would be by email. So that's info@audiobookunleashed.com, or if you just go through the website and you submit a contact form, that would be great as well. I'll answer you on Facebook, but I might not always see it super quickly, and we have other mods on there and such and such.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah, for spending the time to talk with us this week, and I'm sure we're going to see much more of you around.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, bye.